So welcome back to the Sukh Singh Podcast. Today's episode is about mental health, and I've got another very special guest, Jutley. We're going to be talking about the link between physical health and mental health, facing stress daily, and kind of maybe ways you can deal with it, and just the kind of impact on that culture has on mental health. So let's get started. Right. How's it going, Mal? You right?
Yeah, all good, mate. Good to see you.
Good. So let's start off with a nice like warm up one, yeah. So physical health. Like, what are your thoughts on like physical health and mental health? Are they linked? Do you think one? Do you need both? Like, you know, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think they are, to be fair, to some degree. Personally, for me, as you know, I tend to find going to the gym or playing football as a release for my mental stresses and my anxiety. So I often find myself having a bad day, and then I'd go to the gym, spend an hour in my zone, come back, and I'm bouncing.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a link for me personally, and obviously there's scientifically like endorphins and stuff, you know. So there is that link as well where you physically release things that are, I suppose, making you feel the way you are.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a link there. I think it's just people recognizing that link and being able to do something about it. Physical release doesn't have to be gym or a run. It can be a walk. It can be just stepping out in the garden.
Yeah.
Right. It's just that physical element of removing yourself from that environment.
Yeah.
For a set amount of time and giving your brain time to breathe almost.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, like you know myself as well. Used to be like heavy on the gym, like hardcore gym. And I have to admit as well, I found that to be kind of my stress relief. I used to train every day at lunchtime, and it used to break up my day at work, and just reset, midday.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I can definitely kind of see how the two are linked, but you don't realize it. I think sometimes you don't really. I don't know about you, but myself, I never really thought of it in a way that I need to go smash out like some deadlifts to kind of get rid of the stress. It was almost like an instinct to just do it.
Yeah.
I didn't really think so much about it.
So one of the things I think I covered this in my blog, one of the first few posts. I was growing up as an angry little kid, and I was always like, there was things like bullying and stuff going on. In the 80s, it was rife. So you know, it wasn't a good time to be in London as a kid in the 80s, and there was always some sort of fight going on at school. So I was coming home angry all the time, and my dad says to me at the time, he says, I used to argue at home, I used to shout at home all the time, and he sort of literally pulled me away and said, right, go for a run. He goes, what? Just go around a block, calm down. And I'm like, all right. And I did, and it worked.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is pretty good. So every now and then, when I feel like I was getting a bit wound up at home, or I was like, I don't know, arguing with my sister too much, or mum or dad, I'd go for a run.
Yeah.
I'd come back, and that put me in that mindset where I needed that physical break from everything. And over the years, it's always been that way. I mean, I've always done some sort of running or some sort of gym work since I could remember.
Yeah.
But I didn't realise how much of a link it had to my mental well-being up until recently. As you know, I've seen a therapist for about a year or so, about 2-3 years ago now. And talking to her really made me connect a lot of dots in my past as to where I am now.
Yeah.
And what I need to do mentally for my own self, whereas I didn't realise certain things were happening, good or bad, that affected me.
Yeah. I mean, you just mentioned seeing a therapist, and that's usually a taboo subject. So like, how do you feel about even sharing that, and like just the wider conversation on actually having someone to speak to about mental health issues? Or
initially I was a bit like, I can't go, because you know how it's in our culture, right? If our culture sort of says, just put it under the carpet, it'll be all right. Carry on what you're doing, or what will people say? That sort of stuff. And initially I was a bit like, what will people say? Because that's what we're taught as kids, you know. Don't do that, don't do this. But then I thought, no, I need that, because my sister visited from South Africa that summer, and I wasn't myself, and she knows me better than anyone, right? And then when she went back to South Africa, we talked on the phone, and she goes, "Can I ask you a question?" I was, "What?" She goes, "Are you on any sort of medication?" She goes, "Why?" I goes, "No." And she goes, "Well, because you seem like you were like on some sort of meds that would just zombified you. You weren't yourself. You didn't laugh at all when I was there. You weren't you." And I thought, "Rah." And she goes, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." She goes, "Well, you're not." because you're not who you are. I didn't expect you to be that way. You're normally like, I'm normally, you know me, I'm normally life and soul for most parties.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just generally the most lively, loud, childish kid you can find.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, you weren't that person. I'm like, oh, right. She was like, are you sure you're not on meds? I'm like, no, I'm not on meds. I'm all right. And she was like, I think you should see somebody. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I've been thinking about that. And then I thought about it at home. I thought, if I go, what's the worst going to happen? I'll have a chat with somebody. I feel better about it. Right? And I found someone local, done some reviews and stuff, and she was really good. And we worked through some sort of CBT stuff. So it's more about helping me understand rather than giving me things to do.
What's CBT?
So cognitive behavioral therapy.
Okay.
And it's more about, like I said, making me aware of things that were sort of making me feel the way I do, and looking at links in my life for over the years and even now that make me behave the way I do or feel the way I do. And a lot of it was like self-realization. And she was really good because luckily, you know, I don't know most of the talking because I'm supposed to, but it's also like get it all out of our system and let's see what comes out. And that helped, you know. And at first I didn't know nobody. I'm like, no, I ain't gonna know nobody because, you know, A, I'm a bloke, I'm alright, and B, culture says you shouldn't do it anyway.
Yeah.
So by now I didn't tell no one. I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna be fine. I'll just go to my meetings, come back again. And then the woman, she said to me, she goes to me, why don't you write your thoughts down? Sometimes when you can't see me or can't, you know, we haven't got a meeting in place, it'll be helpful to write stuff down. I'm like, you know, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So
write it down and stuff, and that's like sharing this blog. But then I started talking to people about it as well. People were sort of like, oh, I didn't know you were seeing a therapist. Are you all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine now, but this is why I was seeing a therapist. And like I said to you earlier, a lot of it was about, you don't seem the sort of person that would have this problem with anxiety or mental health issues. Are you all right? Well, yeah, I am, but we don't seem that way. You know, you seem perfectly fine now.
Yeah.
And that's a problem we have in our, again, in A, as blokes, B, in our culture. It's like, well, what's wrong with you? You got a roof over your heads. You got family. Da da da. Why have you got these problems?
Yeah.
Man up, as they say, right?
Yeah.
So the seeing therapist was good because it helped me realize that, you know what, I'm making a good step for myself. But then I become more accepting of it. So it didn't become a taboo subject for me. It became more about, well, this is what I've done to help myself. If I can share that with somebody else and maybe help them, then I've done a good thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I've even wanted to start to speak to you about this, because it's your posts and your stories on your blog that kind of inspired me to think about it as well. Because I've throughout my life I've thought about I've considered a therapist, and then finding out that you were seeing one didn't actually kind of make me think, oh, there's something wrong. It made, I totally got it. I understood it. I was like, that's brave of you to do it. Basically, that's how I saw it. Man. So I think, you know, more people, especially up in here, they need to kind of man up the other way around. Yeah. Admit that you've got issues, or you're struggling, or you've got anxiety, or you know you're not really yourself.
Yeah.
I think that definitely needs to be done. I mean, like, where do you think these kind of things, apart from culture, putting that aside, we'll speak about that in a bit, but like, do you think like a lot of other factors, I'm going to go into work because that's usually a big stress causer. I mean, on a daily basis, is there things that, you know, cause stress and cause these issues? Yeah,
I mean, you know, like I said earlier, there's family, there's, you know, your other half, there's kids, there's work, there's even sometimes the travel to work can get stressful. Oh yeah. Central Line's a nightmare, as you know, right? So sometimes you're stressed just getting to work. But there's everything. But it's what I've learned is being able to deal with those at their own merit. Yeah. So you can't solve every problem. No. And also you can't expect people to be the way you expect them to be. So I can't expect my kids to be 100% perfect all the time. I can't expect my mum and dad to be, you know, I can't expect anybody to be how I want them to be. They are who they are. Yeah. But I've got to understand in my mind that I've got to manage their expectations. So the daily stresses, as you said, come from, you know, it's almost like picking your battles. You know, am I going to fight with somebody about this when I can deal with that and I can manage that separately, and I can divert my stress to some work that's bothering me, or, you know, a job at home or something like that. So the daily stresses is a difficult one because I don't always process them straight away. Yeah. I process them a lot at night time. Like I've said numerous times, where I find night time the hardest. You know, when everyone's asleep and I can't sleep, and I'm sitting there and my brain just ticking over. and you're thinking about this and that and the other, and suddenly you're thinking about so many things at once. You're almost like, oh, the hell. That's where I find I've still got to get better with that. Is the daily stresses don't always bother me until it's when I sit down.
Yeah.
And that's why I find it hard to relax. I find it hard to just chill out. I was on holiday with my cousins a few years back, and they were chilling out on the beach, and I couldn't sit still. They're like, well, just sit down. I'm like, no, I'm going to go for a walk. I find it hard to chill because I know when I chill, my brain's going to take over.
Yeah.
And then that's when problems start.
Yeah. Because you allow the thoughts to kind of run freely, right? Yeah. I mean, it's tough. Like, you mentioned there, like, you mentioned quite a few good, like, points there about people can't, not everyone deals with it in the same way. So, like, for yourself, it's like, you don't process it until at the end of the day. I mean, like, what if there is someone like that can't even do that, you know? My point is, like, would it lead to, like, almost like a mental breakdown, that kind of thing?
I had that. Yeah. Funny enough, and I don't mind sharing it with you, actually. I don't think I've told many people about it. I had that. I had a bit of a breakdown, you want to call it.
Yeah.
A few years back, it was a combination of working where I was working in Milton Keynes at the time, and the travel was killing me. Because I was driving out to Milton Keynes from Redbridge every day and back again, right? Yeah. And like M1 isn't good at any time of the day. So that was messing up with me. I think this was Nihal was just born, I think. I'm not sure now. Yeah. But there was lots of things going on at the same time, right? And then I just had this point in my life where I just couldn't manage it anymore, and I was just arguing with everyone at home because I was just either agitated from the journey, or work was that job was stressful at the time because it was a lot going on, and I think at the time just lots of things were going on in my life, right? And it got to the point where I got physically, I couldn't handle it. I went to see a doctor, and they're like, "What's going on?" And they signed me off for 2 weeks. I was at home, I couldn't chill.
Yeah.
And then things got a bit tense at home because I was this person who just couldn't unwind. But I needed that as well. Now I look back at it, I think I needed that episode of my life.
Yeah.
Just to sort of let others know there's something going on.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, what we do as blokes, and what we do, again, I'm going to say it's a lot, as blokes in our culture.
Yeah.
We don't tell people in our house how we're feeling.
That's true.
Right?
That is true.
We'll just crack on with it because that's where we are.
Yeah.
That's what we're conditioned to do. Even as not only blokes, but even our culture just sort of said, just carry on doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's fine. You know, I didn't have the capacity to sit at home and say to people, "This is how I'm feeling," because I'm like, well, how are they going to help? Now they could help. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if I don't ask them, they're not going to help me, right? So in the end, it got to the point where I had this little breakdown, if you want to call it. Things happened at home, which I probably won't go into. Maybe I might do later on. Which made me realise that I've got to a point now where I've got to look at myself. Luckily, at that point, I changed jobs, gave me a bit of a fresh start.
Yeah.
And I just was happier in that role. Still a tense role.
Yeah.
And that was a year. In fact, now I remember that. That was a year then when I'd done those charity runs. Remember I'd done those charity runs one a month?
Yeah.
Because I just needed something to focus on.
Yeah.
And that was 2012. And that was a mad year for me because I did the runs every year, and then I was the volunteer for the Olympics. Yeah. So that year really gave me sort of like a boost that I needed to keep me going, and that really changed the way I looked at how I look at myself. Yeah. And that led to other things. And then I don't know, a bit of an episode. I think it was, what were you in 2020, right? But around 2016 when I moved to Brentwood, same sort of thing again about the pressures that we find about moving from some place to another. Yeah. Children are growing up now; they're going to go in schools, job, that sort of stuff. And that's when I had the whole I need to see a therapist situation, because I think it got to the point where in my head I was like, right, there's been patches where I've been alright, but I need to get some help because I can't manage it on my own. But it gets to a point where I think everyone needs to take a stock of where they are, but don't be afraid to ask for help, even if it's a random. I mean, in lockdown, just through my posts on social media, so many people that I didn't expect to reach out to me said, "Oh man, are you alright? How you doing? Do you want to chat?" And I'm like, "If you don't mind." Yeah. And just chat to people. I'm like, "Okay, this is really helpful." And because they were removed from my environment, didn't know what's going on at the end of the day, it was a nice help just to sort of say, I can talk to you calmly without any sort of comeback or judgment.
Yeah, I think that is probably one of the biggest kind of triggers to some anxiety about like the way you live your life and stuff is judgment. People worrying about judgment, the fear of judgment. I mean, it's so prevalent in our culture. yeah, I mean, like, how can we deal with that? Because I try to kind of, I think I put up a barrier myself. So when it comes to like our culture, I kind of like, I don't care. Like, you know, if mum says, "Oh, what this person," I don't care. I don't care what people think.
Yeah.
But even though you put up that barrier, you still are really kind of caring because we've been conditioned like that.
Exactly. And
you can't get rid of that sort of thought in the back of your head, like, what is that person going to think? What will people think? It's tough. I mean, like, I like going slightly back to the work, about work and stuff, stress at work. I remember, like, I used to be, I thought I was pretty confident at work, and I was happy in meetings and being able to contribute and speak up and stuff. But there was a point, and I haven't really even pinpointed it. I really need to kind of reflect on this time. But there was a point in my career when I started, I don't know, I was kind of put into a situation where I had to present a piece of work, and there was a room full of people, and I don't think it was a crowd thing. I just froze. I couldn't, and that I was like, what's going on here? Yeah. My heart was beating. I couldn't breathe. I was getting, my mouth was dry. That sort of thing. And it sounds like stage fright, but there was something more to it, and I'm trying to trace it back because things went back to normal and it was fine. I had a new job and everything was okay again. And then it happened again. It started happening, and it got so bad. My anxiety to go to meetings, I used to basically bunk them or like pretend that I need to go to the loo and they just not turn up.
Oh no!
I used to hide in the toilet.
Oh wow!
I actually did that. There was it was a meeting, and it wasn't even that many people. Probably like 10, 15 people, just like a small sort of like boardroom or whatever meeting. And it was starting a new project, and everyone was going to go around and have to introduce themselves because there was people from different parts of the business.
Yeah.
And the thought of that, having to introduce myself and say what I do, overcome me. I was already sitting down in the meeting, ready to do it. As I started, I just walked out, and I went to the toilets and just stayed there for about half an hour. Wow. Yeah.
But how have you overcome that?
I don't think I don't know. I felt like it was an episode in my life again. It kind of is gone now.
Right.
And I haven't worked it out. And I've thought many times, I probably should talk to someone about this. I need to see a professional about that.
There's a trigger.
Because there's something definitely triggered it, and I can't figure it out. And it's at different points in my life. One of them, the second time about when it was really bad, was shortly after getting married.
Right. Yeah.
I think, or even just before getting married as well. That with Indian weddings, how crazy they can get.
Yeah.
So I remember planning the wedding, and everything was so stressful. And being in a small family, so obviously my dad's not around.
Yeah.
More pressure was on me.
Yeah, of course.
To sort stuff out. And I think the pressure got to me at that stage.
And it will do, man, because like, again, we're conditioned just to deal with the pressure because you don't reach out for help. Just crack on with it, right? Yeah. But weddings are a funny one because you're just supposed to do what you're supposed to do. Yeah. You're supposed to know everything, right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to know what the answers are to everything. Even if you haven't done it before, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just expected that you're going to know. And it's hard with weddings also, on just any sort of family event, because you can't let the side down almost. So the pressure comes on from people because you've got to do it. Now, from a bloke's point of view, I think my cousin got married a couple of years back. We had a little chit chat. It was like more of a mock, what should I expect from married life? I said, look mate, I'm not going to tell you anything because everyone's different. What I will tell you is that a bloke goes from, especially in Indian cultures, you go from being a single bloke to a married bloke overnight. And no one tells you how to deal with it.
No.
Right? One day you're sitting in your like shorts playing PlayStation. Yeah. Next day you're married to some girl that you've probably either been going out for a little while or you got introduced to. You know how things work, and now you're married.
Yeah.
And then you got a wife, and then you got your parents, and then you got your house, and then you like right, now there's no handbook, there's no like manual to say right, this is what happens when you get married. Now it's harder for the girls as well because they come from their house and they come from our house, but they're almost prepared for that. Right?
Mentally, yeah. Mentally. I mean, they know that it's happening.
Exactly.
They know it's going to happen. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And although we can prepare ourselves for marriage, you can't prepare yourself for the clashes you're going to find between members of your family, or your own personalities, or again, in our culture, we don't live with your partner until you get married.
Yeah.
So you could be perfectly fine as a couple as you are, and then you live with each other. Like, oh, I didn't know you were like that, and you got to deal with it.
Yeah.
And again, you're not prepared for that.
No.
And then you've got judgmental eyes from members of your family that either you live with or extended family.
Yeah.
And then they'll start posting comments as they do in our culture.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, hang on, I'm prepared for this. I was going to have a happy life because I got married to this girl and I was going to be happy.
Yeah.
But you've got to conform to certain things, and that adds to that pressure.
Yeah, I mean, like, I got like kind of, you know, it's been obviously like it's been a bit difficult not having that father figure in my life as well totally. For like most of my life, but I did like a few uncles like here and there used to say like words of wisdom kind of thing, you know, and I was you know, one of them did say like, you know, you gotta. I tell you one thing that's gonna happen. You're gonna have to manage the situation. Yeah. New person in the house.
Yeah, definitely.
The dynamic's gonna change. You just have just keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Don't let it get into like a state, or don't let things just get brushed under.
Yeah.
Because they will explode at some point.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, they, you know, not to go in too much detail, but like when shortly after getting married, like my wife and I, we decided to move out because. The house was too small and everyone's getting on top of each other.
Yeah,
like
it happens.
It happens.
Yeah.
So we moved out and we got our own place, and I thought that would be like a bit of relief. Like we've got our own space now. We can kind of you know, start a family and just like building like our own new routines and stuff like that. But one thing I have to admit, which I didn't realize that would happen to me, is that it impacted me in a negative way.
Right.
I can honestly say that I went into depression. I didn't realise how important having my family there, the support of them, that support circle,
definitely,
how important that was to me. I didn't realise that. I thought, because I mean they're only 10 minutes away as well.
Yeah. But still, like
you know, just that support network, just your you know, that small circle, trusted circle, having them just living in the same place as you. And it affected me quite badly. You know, I put on a lot of weight. I still haven't recovered from the weight gain, but you know, there's a lot of things. But like, it you know, it helped that it gave us a bit. It admittedly, looking back at it, it allowed us to like then start a family and like you know, have a room to grow.
Yeah.
So things turn out okay.
Yeah.
But when you're in it, it's really hard to see the end. You know.
You know. Again, talking about culture firstly, it's always hard to make a move that doesn't conform with what is normal. Because there's expectation, right?
Yeah.
As kids, we're taught to be a certain way.
Yeah.
Because that's what culture says, that's what people say. And then you grow up and you think, I've got to be that way. But we're never actually taught to think for ourselves in respects of our own personal being, like as in just you individually. So what I mean by that is, we don't take out time to be selfish.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad word. It's like, what's important for me?
Self-care, right?
Yeah, exactly. What's important for my well-being personally? Not looking at X, Y, and Z person, just me personally. So when we grow up, suddenly we're thrust into this situation because you got to, and then suddenly you're married, and suddenly you got to buy a house, and then you've not stopped. You've not sort of taken a step back and thought, what is it actually I want to be doing?
Yeah.
You know, and I get the support bit totally. Like when I got married and stuff, obviously I lived. My parents lived with me, and then I was almost became a support for my dad. As you know, my dad's parents passed away when he was very young, and then his brothers passed away over the last few years, and about 20 years ago, and he's on his own. So I'm his support network and everything about him. My sister lives abroad in South Africa, so he's got no one else. But inadvertently, I became everything for him, and that pressure affected me. I'm thinking, well, I've got to be here for this guy. I can't say, right, Dad, I'm going to go. He'll be supportive of it, don't get me wrong, and he'll be like, yeah, cool, because he's an independent guy. He's a very strong guy. He's been through a lot in life to make me feel that he can get on with his life.
Yeah.
But I know at his age, he needs a support network. And in the flip way, almost to flip what you said, I felt I had to do stuff that was expected of me because I was someone's support network.
Yeah.
You know, and Dad's literally got no one else in this country. Yeah. You know, he's got his family's small anyway. A lot of them passed on, as I say, so just literally me. So I had to be that person. So when I moved from Woolwich to Ilford, I was like, Dad, you're going to come with me? And initially he was like, should we not? I'm like, all right, I will. And then from Ilford to Brentwood, I'm like, you're going to come with me? He's like, yeah. Because he knows, you know. And I remember him saying one time, when we were moving from Woolwich to Ilford, because Dad still owned the house in Woolwich.
Yeah.
He sort of staggered his move because we was moving things slowly. And I think he spent about month and a half, 2 months moving across, as it were. And I remember one time he said it was weird not being around the house, or not living in the house with you for 2 months. I didn't think I'd feel that. You'd never say that. Parents of our parents' generation don't say the sort of things. I'm like, exactly. All right, fair enough. So that expectation and support network, we all need it.
Yeah.
But what will happen is, as you get older, you'll find that your support network is different. Mine's completely changed.
Yeah.
Over the last 6 to 8 years, it's completely switched from friends, from family. It's just because I've become more self-aware of what I need, not what I thought I need. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The friends that I thought I needed, I didn't. The family that I thought were helpful weren't. But the family that I can count on, the friends I can count on, and the new friends that have suddenly come out of nowhere, I think, oh, you're a good person. I can trust you, I can talk to you, and you're there because you want to be there, not because you're something out of me. And I've had to do those sort of that self-realization of family and friends.
Yeah.
And that helps, man. And you'll go through it. Yeah. You will do. And you'll realize that actually I need to get people out of my life that aren't helping me.
Yeah.
And you get to that stage, and it'll be a good thing for you. Trust me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I've got to the stage where I'm self-aware enough to know, who I should be connecting more with and who I should not be, seeing as much. But it's a learning process, I still feel like, I mean, support network has definitely obviously changed. Like now I've got kids as well, 2 kids, and they're just a bundle of joy. I'm always happy to see them. They always make me happy. Yeah. So that's already that's something that I didn't get. Unconditional love from a child is you can't beat that.
It's the best thing in the world, man.
Yeah,
really is. Whenever I feel like a certain way, I don't use my kids as a support network yet. I don't intend to in that respects. But I do whenever I'm having a bad day, I look at them and they're just like my kids are just such good characters.
Yeah.
And I think, life's alright.
Yeah. Exactly.
Life's alright.
Yeah. That's the good thing about kids.
yeah. And generally kids are alright as well because they give you a different look on stuff. They're quite honest when their responses. Yes. When I talk to my children about stuff, and they're at an age now where I can tell them certain things about life generally.
Yeah.
But their response is always so honest. I'm like, you know what? I should look at life like that.
Like that, yeah.
I shouldn't dilute it. I should be just honest, black and white.
Yeah.
It makes life a lot simpler to deal with.
It does, yeah. It does. Yeah, we could probably learn a lot from kids again. Going on, because you said a lot of blokes and manning up and all that stuff. Do you think there's more of an issue with men in mental health versus women with mental health? Probably might be a touchy subject, or a controversial one, but what do you think on that?
I think I read some stats recently about there are more cases of men suffering from mental health, but then I think that might be linked to men actually seeking help for it as well. So it may be a case of there's more cases because they're either known and not followed up, or actually seeking help. I don't know enough stats behind it all, but I think everyone suffers.
Yeah.
I think lately men are more comfortable talking about it, and I can use me as an example on that. But it's a long journey for men to sort of say, I have got a problem,
Yeah.
And putting aside just our generation, our culture doesn't always allow it, as we said before. So it's harder for us to talk about it, knowing, there's a cultural impact to what we're saying, and should we be saying it? Because the cultural impact of a bloke in our environment has always been, a bloke is a bloke, and he's made of steel and he's not going to break, right? So I personally, I think it's everyone suffers from it.
Yeah.
I think it's harder for men to accept it sometimes, or even just again, it goes back to the friend circle point I made a minute ago. If your friend circle don't understand that you need help, or they just take the piss, then they're not the people you need to be around.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If they say, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with you," or they use that. I used to be around people that wouldn't I bite a lot when it comes to people winding me up.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, just that's banter.
Yeah.
Isn't fun when it becomes objective to one person.
Yeah.
And I bite a lot because that's the kind of person I am. I'm just like I'm trying to deal with things with common sense. But anyway, my point behind that was say I got around people that would use that as a way of getting a rise out of me, but also for their enjoyment. I didn't see it straight away, but then I'm like, actually, these guys don't benefit me. When I hang out with you guys, I'd come home feeling shitty because you guys are just taking a piss.
Yeah.
Didn't need to be around you lot.
Yeah.
And they're not the people I can then turn to and say, actually, guys, can you stop? Because you make me feel this way. And I go home, feel my head full of all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas recently, I think a friend of mine was talking to me on social media, and he said something, and I was confident enough to say, you know what, do you mind not doing that, because I know how I'm gonna react. He's like, oh, so, yeah, mate, totally, I get that, 100%. And I thought, that's refreshing.
Yeah.
You're right. Whereas I wouldn't have said that a while back, but then I was probably the people that I was with then. I probably would have felt that it probably wouldn't have landed anyway.
Yeah.
They probably would think, oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because they've already gone so far past it.
Exactly. Yeah. So there is that thing where that male sort of bonding, or I don't know, locker room thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it stops you from actually being you because you think you've got to conform.
Yeah, the boys' locker room. That is an interesting one, definitely. I mean, it's been there since like high school, right?
Yeah.
Like, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Wet towels, getting beats if it's your birthday.
Yeah.
All sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Which is fine when it's not sinister.
Yeah.
It's when it becomes sinister. It's like I was reading the news the other day about this footballer who wants to come out as gay, but doesn't know if he can because society isn't accepting of it. But I'm like, well, it doesn't matter if you're a footballer or you're a film star.
Yeah.
You can come out whenever you want.
Yeah.
Because you should be able to be who you are.
Yeah.
But that mentality around how football and the locker room and that sort of stuff doesn't allow that person, whoever he is, to feel that way.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you're an actor, or if you're a film star, if you're, a music star, it's acceptable.
It's probably more,
I don't want to use that word because it should be acceptable no matter what.
Yeah.
But that comes down to that whole male environment where you don't feel comfortable opening up.
Yeah.
Because you set yourself for ridicule sometimes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, it sounds like, and I'm just probably going to take like a guess, it's not scientific, but what would you say is like probably the root cause of mental health? Like, it sounds like it's the fear of what other people think, the fear of judgment. Would you say that's the root cause of it? I don't know. It's a loaded question, to be honest with you.
I can give you my example.
Yeah.
So when I went to the therapist, I found out a lot.
Yeah.
There was loads of root causes. Bullying was one in school, which stuck with me.
Yeah.
I used to get bullied a lot at school, in primary school.
Yeah.
So from my age of about 6 onwards. Control, so parental control or authority, rather than control, authority from parents, from teachers. Even to this day, I don't deal with authority very well. Because as a kid, I was like, well, I know better. I didn't, but I was mouthy little so-and-so. But then also, I think that didn't help because it was almost like, you don't know anything, shut up. And that didn't help me. So that became something that embedded in my head. So when I spoke to my therapist, that suddenly came out as that, well, people have tried to control you and manipulate you. Yeah. But you haven't been you. And then I went back to my childhood as a kid and talking candidly, a lot of, things that you want to do that weren't necessarily Indian things. Yeah. Parents didn't get it. Right? So, simple thing, go to Punjabi school instead of football training on Saturday morning. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That sort of stuff. Yeah. Or, things like, what you got to do, you got to be a doctor, engineer, that sort of stuff. You got to do maths, English, and being the firstborn, I'd push against a lot of that sort of stuff to sort of say, no, I want to do what I want to do. If I want to go out with my friends, and I want to go out with my friends, if I want to hang out, all these things I had to push against. But when I talked to my therapist, I found that was an embedded thing that I was always finding myself battling and pushing against things. Yeah. Right? And then the pressures that come from all that as well, right, was another one that I found was a root cause for me, because I became very self-critical. Over the years, when that happened, I became very much like almost seeking acceptance. Even to this day, I almost want to sort of, when like a little kid says, "Oh look, Dad, I've done a good picture. Isn't it great?" Yeah. Just magnify that, but to the rest of your life. I found a lot of that I was doing in life. Saying, "Look, I've done this. Isn't it good?" Yeah. Because I was always trying to find acceptance from somebody because I wasn't getting it from that acceptance from people, be it the people that were bullying me, or be it the authority figures, or be it the people that I felt weren't who I wanted them to be. Yeah. So it was almost like, can I have that acceptance so I can feel better about myself? Yeah. And that's, for me, those three or four things were the root cause. For me, was that acceptance, the authority, the bullying, and then just the general pressures of being that firstborn kid who, and I don't hold anything against my parents, because they came into this country in the 70s not knowing what to do or what to how to expect. And they almost grew up with me in this country at the same time, right? Because they learnt the customs of the country, the language, just general how things are. They didn't know any different.
No. It's like you're learning together, right?
Exactly, yeah. So, and that was a big thing for me. So it's only when I saw a therapist, I thought, okay, I can see a lot here now. And again, over the years, and there's one thing I think I'm learning, I'm becoming like dad in a good and bad way. Dad is a very giving person.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And he's always helpful. He's always the person that would, sometimes put us to a back seat to help somebody else.
People,
right? And that's all I've seen growing up. That's a good quality, provided you know how to rein it in.
Yeah. Dad
didn't. And we'd argue about him over the years, but I still think that it's a good role model to have.
Yeah.
However, I've become that person. Whereas I'm almost like, oh yeah, I'll help you, but I get sod all in return.
Yeah.
And I don't do it for getting in return.
No, exactly.
But you want appreciation, right?
Yeah.
And then I found it hard to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's I probably wouldn't say you, and you'd agree with me, like, it's not even wanting appreciation, it's that when you spend your time, you don't want to feel like it was a waste. Because,
exactly.
Yeah, so, like you might go home and you've just, like, stitched yourself up on something that you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because you've been helping someone else.
Exactly.
So you just need to get that kind of sense of, was it worth it? And I totally understand.
Totally, that. And I wrote my recent one of the posts, I think one now or the one before, about reliability. Like people know they can count on me.
Yeah.
Right? If someone says, I want to do this, fair enough, I'm there, I'm reliable, and I'll make the effort. And I've done that through school, because linking back to that, the cause of it was acceptance. Is that I want to be accepted. So therefore, I will do what's required to make sure I get accepted. And that comes from the bullying. So it's all linked. The bullying was like, we can't accept you. You don't look like us. You don't sound like us. Because I remember growing as a kid, I think I didn't speak English until I think probably first year of primary school, at exception, right?
Yeah.
Even then I was learning it anyway.
Yeah.
So your acceptance was, you're the wrong colour.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted that acceptance, be it from, like I said, from the bullies or the authority figures, or even work and colleagues and stuff. It happens. But what I've learned over the years, and essentially since therapy, is that surround yourself by people that get you, because they're the ones that are going to help you.
Yeah.
People that don't get you aren't going to help you, and they're going to expect you to be a version of you that you're not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you've got to conform to that version because that's what they think they want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just saying that is like, that just really sort of resonates with me, because, like how I used to kind of pride myself in being someone that can adapt to situations. But really what you're doing, you're creating personas of yourself that is not really you, but you're adapting to, say, work, home, friends, but you're molding yourself to what the expectation of you is, and not being yourself. And I think I still have a way to go to fully be able to express myself for me. But I'm definitely been working on that, and that's because that's the one thing I used to notice. I used to just because I grew up in Ilford, and even we was talking earlier just before starting, how I talk, like how we talk and stuff. I'm not well spoken English. I say a million times. I'm a bit ghetto, but that's just because of my environment. That was my upbringing. But when you go into as soon as you go into the city, that you feel like you have to change the way you speak. Even you had a work voice. I had a work voice. I spoke differently at work. Just so I felt like I could be accepted.
Exactly.
I've been slowly changing that, and even now as well, even from family members and stuff like that. Like when they see my videos or podcasts, they're like, just oh, you say this a lot or that, or dress this way. When you do a video, and I just sod that now. Now my attitude is like sod that. I feel like I'm a bit of a grumpy old man. Like in some.
I am.
but it's. It's not fully, I've not fully got over it, it's still in the back of my head, I always think about it, it's like, maybe I should just make an effort and stuff like that, but there's two ways about it, because even my last job, last year when I was still contracting last year, I remember one guy made a comment, because I hadn't trimmed, but I was actually growing my dari. I didn't have to think I had to share that with everyone, but I was just growing my dari because I wanted to get a long, thicker dari, and then I did trim. I neatened it up one day, and I come in and they go, "Oh, you made an effort today." I'm like, you wanker. You know, it's not that I wasn't making an effort. I was actually trying to grow it out.
Yeah.
But it's just that a judgment.
Exactly.
You know, and it's kind of like it gets you still.
It totally does. Yeah. I had that. So I used to be that person where I thought I needed to be somebody at work.
Yeah.
Until I was looking for a job, maybe I don't know now, 8-9 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And I got some feedback from the interview where basically I smashed the interview.
Yeah.
But they were like, "You don't sound right." And I'm like, "What do you mean you don't sound right?" And like, "Oh, you talk fast." I'm like, "All right, I can work on that." "Yeah, but you don't sound like the person we need because you'd be talking to a lot of clients and stakeholder management, blah blah blah." I'm like, "All right," I put the phone down. I'm like, "Sod them."
Yeah.
Right. At first I thought, "Oh, what the hell?" And I thought, well, you know what? That's their loss. And one, like, as you know, I change jobs a lot, right?
Yeah.
And I go for interviews a lot. And I've always prided myself in the fact I know I can do my job well.
Yeah.
But also know I'm good at what I do.
Yeah.
And early on in life, I realised that, and to my credit, I learned it by myself because I always pride myself on doing the best I can. And I've always said to myself, if someone doesn't want me, then it's their loss.
Yeah.
Right? And I've used that at work, whereby I've not had a work voice. I was conscious of it, especially at some like highbrow companies I work for, or blue chip companies, where people did sound like they come from Oxford, and I'm like, I'm talking like this. But then I'm like, well, that doesn't matter to me because I know what I can deliver.
Yeah.
But I found it hard at first, but I didn't change myself.
Yeah.
I tried to by using, I suppose, trying to slow down.
Yeah.
But I thought, well, then that's not me. Like I said earlier, I'm not comfortable being me.
Yeah.
I can't be who I am. That got me here in the first place.
Yeah.
So I didn't bother work, and I sound like this at work.
Yeah.
But then through changing jobs, I found that the more diverse places I work at, the more accepted I am. So where I work now, it's probably the most diverse place I've ever been.
Yeah.
Right? And like one of our execs is a Singh.
Nice.
There's about 3 other Singhs that work for us. There's a good mix of men and women that work for us.
Yeah.
I remember I was in one meeting one day. There's 8 of us, and there was like everyone was from different nationalities in that one meeting.
Wicked.
And but I found myself, that's just who I am, because no one looks at your accent or the way you look. They look at what can you deliver.
Yeah.
And that's where you want to be. And that's where it comes from, not only work, but for friends and family.
Yeah.
They just want you for who you are, not what you bring to the table, right?
Yeah.
In terms of what they want, it's about what you bring to the table, what you do.
Yeah.
This is who I am.
I mean, if there's anything to be judged at by work, it's about your ability to perform the job.
Exactly.
And that's it. Nothing else about you should matter about that.
Exactly. And I'll play it up. Like, I remember when I in fact, it's helped me. I remember I was working in Canary Wharf, and again, highbrow company, and I talked the way I did. But one dude goes, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "I'm South London." "Where do you live?" I was Ilford. I thought so. I'm from around the corner. And then we just connected because he was like, "Oh, I can be me again."
Yeah.
So then suddenly he slipped back into how we talk, rather than being this, talking posh. And even now, when I speak to people, the way my accent is, they're like, "Where are you from?" "I'm from South London." "Oh, wait," and then suddenly you connect because I'm originally from South London. I grew up in Woolwich, and then we connect on that level.
Yeah.
And that I find that I rather connect with people on that level, rather than where your education from, or what's your background and this and that. I'd rather connect on who I am, rather than what they think they need me to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's good. I can say I'm in a similar situation where now I'm working at a company that's really diverse, and even what you normally like have as a taboo or a joke or a dig, we kind of use that as like, there's a couple other people from Essex basically, and we're the Essex boys, and going with the lads, like, typical. But like, it's just it is nice having that, and it kind of it not validates, but you were saying about acceptance. You still crave it.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, and when you get it, it is good feeling. But it's I think I would, for myself, would like to get to a point where I don't require that acceptance, and I think slowly.
It's hard though.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's hard.
It's like a lifelong journey, probably.
I'm still looking for it now.
Yeah.
Like, not so much at work, because, like I said, I've in a weird way, I'm just a different person at work.
Yeah.
I just focus, get the work done, there you go. And then a year later, I'll find another job. But that's just, whereas my acceptance comes from people around me, because these are people I see every day.
Yeah.
Or people I interact with every day.
Yeah.
But it goes back to what we said earlier in the podcast about the pressures.
Yeah.
That pressure we put on ourselves.
That's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? We go into work thinking, I've got to be a certain way. No, you just got to do your best.
Yeah.
Right? or you go into a family environment, and you've got to just be you.
Yeah.
And the family should get you. Now, I've learned in the last sort of 2, 3, 4 years that I can't expect the family or my friends to be any different.
Yeah.
Right? They are who they are.
Yeah.
Right? I've got to just be me.
Yeah.
And if they get me, they get me. If they don't, just carry on being me.
Yeah.
And that's all you can do in life. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's accepting both ways.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Normally, you'd accept your family for what they're doing and who they are.
Mm.
It should be the other way around as well.
Totally, yeah,
For sure. So, moving on slightly, going into lockdown, COVID and dealing with lockdown, that's been probably a big sort of like, just in itself, like, being isolated with your family members. Like, how have you found lockdown?
It's hard, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not only from the fact I'm in a building, because one building all the time kind of thing.
Yeah.
I found it hard. Initially, when it first happened, I think I went from home that day on the Friday, and it all kicked off, and I was just like, all right. And then I woke up in the next morning, and it was just like, oh shit, we're here. And then, I couldn't deal with the fact that what's going to happen outside? And anxiety just kicked in.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what's going to happen? How bad is this pandemic? Are we all going to die? That sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it got to the point where when it was like, you can't leave the house, and everything else, I'm like, all right, I'm around people that I want to be around. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Right? But then that all flipped on its head because you're suddenly with the same people all the time. And at home, my release was, right, I'm going to go cinema, I'm going to go gym, I'm going to do my movie stuff. You know what? The stuff I do, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That was my release. So when I come home, I'd be like, yeah, I'm bouncing because I've done something that I want to do for me.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. So I was at home, wake up in the morning, same people, get stressed out. That stress stays in the house. At the time, we couldn't go for a walk, could we?
No. Initially.
Yeah, right? So that was staying with me, and I couldn't do anything. And I started yoga. A friend of mine does, he's a certified trainer for DDP yoga. And that was so good because I was like, yeah, this is really useful. Just an hour of just focusing on something helped me a bit. But even then I found it hard. So I switched off all the briefings. I muted all the words on social media because I would see stuff like number of deaths, I'm like, oh man. I just switched it all off. And I remember some of the news was on, I can turn the news off. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I just blocked it out completely. I'd read in the morning, so I'd go onto my Twitter feed and read what I'd curated for me.
Yeah.
So I was aware, and I'd move on.
Yeah.
But obviously, pressures at home kicking. Kids are at home. So there's like me, the kids, other half, and then mum and dad. We're all in the same house.
Yeah.
And dad's like, I want to go out. Dad, you can't go out. You're 71. You got to stay at home.
Yeah. It's
right.
Scary.
Got to deal with him almost,
yeah.
and then I got to deal with all that sort of stuff. And again, the pressure's kicked in, right?
Yeah.
So lockdown was hard, man. But then I found, then I was on furlough, and then I just thought, you know what, I've got to do stuff for me.
Yeah.
I was literally just took a step back one day, and I'm like, you know what, I need to just focus on what I've got to do for me. So I'd done a couple of courses online. I would spend an hour or so in the morning reading, just like reading about stuff I want to learn about.
Yeah.
Be it the news or be it like work-related stuff.
Yeah.
And I just threw myself into DIY. I was just painting the house left, right, centre, jet washing this, painting that, fixing this, and I was flat out. And you know what? It was really good because I would have headphones in my head. I put podcasts on or like music on, and all day I was working.
That's good.
You know what I mean? And then I started cooking. I love cooking anyway, but I was cooking random stuff. Started making soap, just random things I could find to do.
Yeah, I have to admit your social media feed's been very entertaining. The soap was like, I forgot to message you about that because like I need to know how to make this as well because it just sounds like a fun project to do.
It is fun, man. Especially the smells and the colours and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just stuff that I needed to find to do because I thought me, I can sit and watch a movie all day long.
Yeah.
Right, I can sit there and the whole day I can watch movies. But I would have felt guilty.
Yeah.
Because I'm just sitting in front of the TV all day. Right? I mean, because I'm on furlough, I should do something. So then that pressure thing we spoke about earlier, it kicked in. Because my dad's role model was like, keep busy, do something.
Yeah, keep busy, do something. Always,
exactly. So I was like, well, I've got to do something. Because dad's at home. I can get him involved in stuff, or I should do something.
Yeah.
And then obviously I just got on with the DIY and all the other stuff. But lockdown ended up being okay because I came out of it. Actually, a friend of mine, she got in touch. She was part of this meditation thing, where you write down things that I think it was like a 10-day program where you write certain things down each day. you meditate on those things, and you become aware about what it is you want from a person. You know, people that are important to you, people that aren't important to you, things that are important, that sort of stuff, right? I did that for 10 days, and you know what? Using that and using all the stuff I did during lockdown, I became much more aware about who I was, and me and my needs and wants, and that program taught me, again, like I said to you earlier, that it's okay to be selfish, because that's not a bad word.
No.
To look at you and be selfish for you, and not be everyone's support network. Be your own support network.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I learned that from that. I learned that from lockdown. Now I'm out of it to a point where I'm thinking, I know what I need out of life, and I'll get that at some point. However I need to get it, whether it's situation A, B, or C.
Yeah.
I know what I need to be happy in life. I'm not going to be the person that is 80 or 70 or however old I live, and feel that I'm just a grumpy old man that didn't get what I wanted out of life, or I didn't achieve what I wanted out of life.
Regret is
And I don't, you know what, I've done some good things and bad things in my life. I don't regret any of them, because I've learned over the years that was a choice I made.
Yes.
And that was something I chose to do.
And it got you to where you are now.
Exactly. Yeah, you know what I mean? So, yeah, lockdown's been a good thing, but I think out of it, the strength of it has been, I'm looking at me, and it's okay to look at you. And look at what you want out of life.
So the self-reflection.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, it's good, and I think, that will just you telling people that story will help. Like, because self-reflection is not a bad thing. You should have self-care. You should think about what you want and figure out what makes you happy.
Yeah.
Myself, I still long way to go. I think I still am trying to figure it out. I've tried out loads of things. Not in lockdown specifically. Lockdown was more for me, was like, it was stressful in the sense that I was trying to start a new business, trying to start a new almost career path. With doing the videography and that kind of lockdown just ended that before it even started, sort of thing. So for me, it was like a massive downer. Initially, I was like, no, I was still kind of adamant I'm going to still come in and try and get work and do work, and the missus was like, you can't, it's not safe. And the same thing, like, the fear of catching it, and the fear of dying, anything happening to the kids, like all that kind of bubbled up.
Yeah, man, it does.
And it was very stressful at first. It was very stressful, especially the initial lockdown where you couldn't leave, but yeah, for me it was more about, like, personally, I have to always be working. I refuse sometimes to go to sleep, because I'm like, I want to do 2 hours of something, this or that, make a video, do some editing. Even like more recently, I've picked up gaming again, because I'm like, I haven't played a game in, like, I can't remember. I think that was a big part of a stress relief that I used to have. And I'm not talking about Call of Duty and stuff. I still like to create. So I've picked up Minecraft recently. I absolutely love it, mate. I'm hooked on it. So I play like an hour here and there, like every evening, and it's kind of like my therapy. It's like, it's so therapeutic. Like you go, I don't know if you know Minecraft, but you just like break blocks, mine, collect resources, and then build stuff. And that's all I've been doing, and that's for me. Like, you know how you're talking about the DIY and stuff. I feel like I'm doing that, but in a virtual environment.
But you know what? I totally get that. So one of my therapy things is Lego. I build Lego. So I buy Lego sets. And I just sit there and I just build them. And it's just, again, therapeutic. You just sit in there, you're building, and look what I've done. And it's a sense of achievement, but also it's that therapy. Even gaming. Like, I remember when I first had kids, I think 6-7 years, I didn't touch my PlayStation at all. I didn't touch a controller, nothing. And then I thought, I miss FIFA. Right? So I started playing. I think Nahar was probably about 2, and I bought a PS4, and I thought, let me play FIFA for a bit. And I did like maybe twice or 3 times that year. And as he's got older, now he's playing FIFA. Right? And I thought, now I've got back into it. Because he's playing it. I'm like, I better get half decent at it, because he's beating me, right? So now I've got back into FIFA. And I don't play like online much. I don't play extensively, but I'll have like maybe once a week. I'll spend a few hours playing FIFA and stuff. Because you're right, it gives you. Cause I remember growing up as a kid, that was my release. On my PS1 and PS2, I was playing Pro Evo and Gran Turismo and those sort of games, because they were just your release for a few hours, and you did that with your mates or whatever, right? So I totally get that, but you need these things, these support mechanisms, to help you through your day. And it can be Lego, it can be Minecraft, it can be anything. but it's something that you've got to realise helps you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Otherwise, you sort of sit there thinking it's easy to watch a TV screen, but is it helping you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, whereas you sound similar to me, where you need to be something creative with your mind for it to be exercised, so you get away from the stuff that's bothering you. Yeah. You know what I mean?
What I've realised about myself, it has to be like a repetitive task as well.
Yeah.
It can't be too like, ambiguous because that causes stress in itself. Like that's why I don't like playing Call of Duty and that stuff. Yeah. It's pretty stressful for me. Like, I get frustrated, if I'm getting killed and I'm getting shot. Yeah. So that's why I stay away from the game, because at the same time, sometimes it's fun, but when you play with friends, it's fun. But when you're playing on your own, it's a bit more stress. And doing a repetitive task is what I found is the key to me to like unlocking that almost meditative state. And
I found that. So I remember as a kid, I would have difficulty focusing, and I have difficulty just like even now. Sometimes I'll have this thing where I just can procrastinate a lot, right? And I remember talking to somebody. I think it might have been a therapist actually. I was saying, I reckon if I was a kid now, I'd probably get diagnosed with something, some sort of ADHD or something like that, right? Where I know that I'm, that I was a bright kid growing up, but I was always that kid that had some issue somewhere.
Yeah.
And there's another thing in our culture we don't do enough of. Yeah. Is actually look at, is there a problem we need to be aware of with our children, and get them tested or get them looked at or get some professional advice on the fact that traditionally you get a slap, do your work, right? Yeah. So that sort of thing. Don't be an idiot, get a slap, do your work. Yeah. Say banda banja or get that sort of stuff, right? So you get threatened to behave by violence. And yes, sometimes you need to be authoritative, shall we say? Yeah. But there's always a reasoning for that behaviour. Yeah. And through my kids, I've learnt the fact that rather than sort of say shut up, ask them why they're acting out. Yeah. And they're probably going to tell you. Do you know what I mean? They're probably going to tell you, I'm pissed off, or not going to say pissed off. I'm sad or annoyed because of this reason. Oh, I didn't know that affected you. Yeah. Whereas again, our generation didn't do much of that. No. So I reckon if I did go back as a kid, even now, I can probably go and they'll find something that, you can probably be diagnosed with something like this. I'm not saying I want to be diagnosed, but I think there'll be something there for me to look at. Yeah. Or be aware of and to work on. Yeah. And I suppose we've come full circle in respect to my sort of journey of mental health. It's always been a journey of self-discovery off my own back. Yeah. Because I've had triggers or I've had people asking questions where I've said, I think I need to get some help. Yeah. But I've had to do it on my own. Yeah. And that was hard enough.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I say I admire you, because you're brave to do that and realise it yourself. Because not many people, I think, do that and they get into a hole,
and we're going to be all night, mate. The thing was, I used to be, even now, and even as a kid, and even as a sort of young adult, I was always a dreamer. Yeah. Meaning that I always felt that I'm going to be destined for good things in life, or I deserve these things. So I strove and got those things, right? And when things don't go to plan, so be it a relationship, be it a work, or be it a job, be it anything, you say, well, why not? I've put the effort in. I've upheld mine in the bargain. What's failed? And rather than look at the reasons for failure, I became self-critical. I'm like, maybe it's me. Yeah. Maybe it's my problem. I better work harder. Not knowing that actually you're doing all you can, but the other person or the other situation or the other environment isn't upholding its end of the bargain. Yeah. And you actually deserve some appreciation, or you deserve some understanding on your part. Yeah. So I became so self-critical. I was then just becoming a sort of a board of stress all the time, thinking I've got to be a certain way. Yeah. Now I've just given up trying. Now I'm like, you know what? I still get days of it. We're like, what the fuck, man. But you know what I mean? But now I'm like, it's cool. Yeah. Move on. Just move on. You can't manage someone's behavior or someone's attitude. You can do is manage you and be you. Yeah. And no matter if it's whoever it is in your life, they can just be who they are. Yeah. You've got to look at you. Yeah. And it's hard, man. It really is. It's hard to accept that.
It's hard to do that with yourself. Yeah. But I find I can see my wife get angry over something or someone, and I can easily say, "Look, a dog's gonna bark. You can't change that. Yeah. Yeah. So don't get angry over it, because they're gonna do what they are like built to do. That's what they do. Yeah. So don't get angry at that. Like just chill out, leave it, just ignore it. Whatever mechanism you use. But when it happens to yourself, it's almost impossible. You can't see it when you're in it, what's happening.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm definitely guilty of that. I'm easy to point out for someone else, like, oh no, don't get angry because that person's an idiot. So you shouldn't expect them to do or expect appreciation or anything from that person. Yeah. But it is hard when it happens to yourself.
One thing, I was at this course, this assertiveness course I did at work, right? And there's one thing there they taught about, like, your circle of trust.
Yeah.
And the exercise they told us to do was write down 5 people that are in a circle of trust without thinking. Just who are those 5 people?
Yeah.
And they can be anybody. They can be family members, can be friends, can be anybody you want, right? And I wrote them down. And she goes, the point of this exercise is to look at how diverse is your circle of trust. Because if your circle of trust is people of the same gender, same culture, same background, same family, then they're just enabling you. They're just telling you what you already know, and probably not going to point out or give you a different point of view.
Yeah.
The more diverse your circle of trust is, the more different opinions you're going to get, and the more challenging opinions you're going to get that end up benefiting you. So, for example, let's say if all my circle of trust was 5 blokes who are in their 40s and were sings, I'd get the same sort of output from all of them, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
More often
Roughly,
not, right? Yeah. Whereas if my circle of trust is, I don't know, different people from different backgrounds, different genders, different ages, you learn different things from different people, and you bring that into your own personal being, and you get better for that. And that's one thing I've stuck with since I learned it, but more I preach everywhere I go. Because in our culture, who's our circle of trust? Mostly people that are like us.
Yeah.
Right? Or mostly people that are Indian for starters.
Yeah.
And probably your family. Maybe another Indian mate you work with, or someone you play football with, or somebody, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's for you, but what I'm saying is generally you're going to get that. Now I know if I talk to some members of my family, they may say the same thing, or they may, they're quite diverse. I'm like, yeah, good work on that.
Yeah.
Make diverse friendships, work in diverse environments, and use that diversity for your benefit.
Yeah.
And that's helped me deal with my anxiety, because those 5 things that if they were in my circle of trust, I've got to conform to what they think.
Yeah.
I've got to conform to that culture or that pressure.
Yeah.
I can't say that, actually, guys, I'm different than you. And they'll be like, well, why are you different? Whereas if it was diverse, they're like, yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I'm like you, actually. And you get acceptance from diversity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I see what you mean, yeah.
So that's one thing.
That's a very good thing to, that is good to think about. One to think about, definitely. So, I mean, like, we touched on it a few times already, like the South Asian community and mental health and admitting it. Like, I mean, we can't solve the problems of it now just by conversation. But, like, do you remember that I think it was a short series, the boy with the top knot, was it?
Yeah.
Like, what did you think of that? Was that a good, like, starter of a conversation for it?
Yeah, I think so. I think he reminded me of me quite a lot, where he was pushing boundaries in the culture, in the environment. Because I didn't grow up in Ilford. I grew up in Woolwich, where there weren't many uppity.
Yeah.
So you stood out like a sore thumb, but also you pushed against boundaries because you did things that weren't Indian, shall we say?
Yeah.
But I think he was good, because I think that showed that he wanted to be a journalist for starters.
Yeah.
Right, which wasn't a done thing.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
So I think that's a good. Those sort of things are good conversation starters, because it's almost this. Our South Asian culture says you have to be a certain way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're wrong.
Yeah.
But there isn't a right or wrong, is there?
There isn't. No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, you do what makes you happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically. I mean, yeah, it's a tough one, and like, there's no solution really apart from just starting that conversation. And I mean, this is the reason why I wanted to get you on here and to start this conversation, because I think a lot of listeners, especially like the people that I know, are still very much like most of the people that I know are South Asian. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. All families, children speaking to the parents speaking to children, because I think it would solve a lot of the problems in our community that happen. With this and brushing it under the carpet and stuff like that. It is one of those things again, like where there is mental health and it goes like untreated and stuff, and it ends up in a really terrible situation for the family, and it just needs to be spoken about.
The thing that I found in our culture is that, like I said earlier, because we don't speak about it much, there's not an understanding of it. And because of an understanding of it, there's no way of dealing with it.
Yeah.
So when it comes, like, let's say, I don't know, you come to me, say, "Man, I've got a problem." And I'm like, Chad, let's go for a pint.
Yeah.
I've not helped you,
no.
but, I've taken you away from your problem for 5 minutes, but I'm not giving you a solution or giving you any sort of advice or help. Whereas what we need to do as a culture is talk more.
Yeah.
Talk more about what it is and be confident that you can talk openly about things. And I think that's the hardest thing, men and women, by the way, we'll find is to say, "I've got a problem, I need some help." Otherwise, people will sort of say, "Well, you can't have a problem. Why?" And I think that the hardest part is for people to accept that they need help. And maybe people do know they need help, but they don't know how to ask for help.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's hard in our culture to ask for help.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, what doesn't help is judgment in our culture. We get a lot of judgment. And we're an emotional culture, man.
Yeah.
There's so much emotion, there's so much emotional blackmail in our culture that gets thrown about all the time.
Gosh. Emotional blackmail. I'm glad you said that, because that's probably the biggest crime of our culture.
Totally.
Yeah. By even parents as well.
Everyone.
Yeah. Everyone.
Yeah. And it's it's one of the biggest things and it's not only our culture, other cultures do it.
Yeah.
I know, like, I remember, who was I talking to recently about emotional blackmail, and it's prevalent in, like, Italian culture, in Jewish culture, because the mothers are very emotional about how the sons are and stuff. You see it on TV as well.
Yeah.
But I know I got a friend of mine talking. He goes, "Mal, it's just like, you could be Jewish."
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not their fault either. It's because it's happened for generations.
Yeah.
So it's not. But our generation has to be the generation who say, "No, we've got to stop this. We've got to understand that, like, our parents aren't wrong or right. They're just who they are."
Yeah.
And they're learning from their parents. What we've done in our generation right now is we've almost become aware of a lot more things.
Yeah.
And we've got to be almost like, "All right, I'm aware of this stuff. Now let's use this to better our future generations."
Exactly.
If I don't teach my kids to be open and honest about what they feel like and be able to seek help, then I've failed them. You get me?
Yeah.
So the emotional blackmail thing, I don't do it with my kids at all. And I've almost consciously been aware of that. I've almost, yes, I'll tell them, "I'll take away your iPad for an hour."
Yeah.
But that's about as far as I'll get with that, because they understand that there's consequences and stuff, right? Or they're getting to learn that anyway. But whereas our culture has that judgment thing a lot. And if I walk out this door now and tell somebody, I did a podcast about mental health, be like, "Tu pagala? What's wrong with you?" You know what I mean? Why are you doing that for?
Yeah.
Talk to mum, talk to your dad, talk to talk to family.
Yeah.
Like, well, no, people can see this around the world, hopefully.
That's the whole purpose, right? It's like us talking about it will hopefully might like kind of trigger someone to think, okay, you know what, I do need to ask for help.
Yeah.
And that would be sort of like the best thing to know or hear about, is that
man,
help someone.
And not only that, it's almost like people sort of thinking that even to reach out to you, and say, I saw your podcast, or I've heard your podcast, and that point that you were talking about, that's, I relate to that.
Yeah.
At least that that person's got something he can hang on to, or she can hang on to.
Yeah.
And say, that I resonate with that.
Yeah.
Like I've opened up over the sort of years about sort of my issues with anxiety and stuff on social media, and the amount of people that have reached out and said, "Yeah, I'm the same," or "I feel the same," or "I totally get you." I'm like, "I didn't know that," but I'm glad we can talk about it now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's having that person to talk to.
Yeah.
And it's hard to have that, and people have opened up to me that I didn't think they would open up to me.
Yeah.
And said certain things. I'm like, I didn't know we had that relationship, but I'm glad we do now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I can totally understand that, because you being open about it, then, like, even I was gravitated towards that, because I'm like, I feel like I can open up to you, because you're open about what you've gone through. So it's a good thing, and it can only help the
totally
culture, the whole society, everyone.
And the thing is, we do a lot of it in our culture in terms of, like, there are, like, buzz accounts that raise awareness. So there are accounts in our culture that raise awareness and do good things. I get that, but I think it's the community that aren't on social media.
Yeah.
Or it's people that aren't looking at those accounts. They're the ones we've got to help. And you can't go to Google and do it, because you're talking to a select type of audience.
Yeah.
You've got to go to certain environments and do it. So social media is one environment, I get that, but you're reliant on people sharing that information on that platform, be it Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. If you're not on those platforms, you won't see it.
That's true.
Right? And WhatsApp helps. Like, some people share videos on WhatsApp and stuff, and luckily everyone's got something like WhatsApp, or everyone's got a phone, so it's sharing like this YouTube link.
Yeah.
You can share that anywhere.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or you can share a link to a podcast anyway.
Yeah.
But it's also making sure that reach goes across the board. I think we're not doing enough, only because I think the accounts that are doing stuff and the organizations that are doing stuff are doing good stuff, but they're doing it to that same audience.
I get you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like preaching to the choir, right? But the people that are following and that sort of content and listening to, they already understand it and they already gone to that step to do that.
Yeah.
But it is tough still, even to spread that word, to get that sharing, like, you know. Yeah. But no one really wants to even share a link about mental health because, again, they might fear that person, another person will judge them for talking about it.
I did on my Facebook. You know, when I shared my link for my blog, initially I put a friends list, and I only put something on there. I thought, you know what, I don't want that person knowing because they're family or they're this or they're that, and what will they say? So initially I did filter it a bit, and then I thought, sod it.
Everyone.
They've to see it for who, I don't care, because I'd moved past that judgment, and now if someone tells me something, I'm like, fine, but I'd rather then that person come back to me and have a discussion about it. Yeah. And talk about it. And you know, we joke about auntie, right?
Yeah.
If you can convert one auntie's thinking, right?
I don't know if that's possible. Right?
Then your job's done. Because that's who you got to convert. It's not, I say auntie, but that generation or that type of thing. You joke about it. There are people my age, blokes my age, who think like that. Oh, it's not only auntie, right? Yeah. That think that way. So it's not, auntie is a stereotype, but you know what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
It's that thinking you got to change. It's those people you got to convert, that they've got to be aware of, and then be open enough to have a discussion about it. Yeah. That's where we got to get to.
Yeah, 100%. I think we all know a person that is like a bloke who's, you know, in a similar generation or the same generation that is like that, because they've just kind of, you know, taken on everything like an auntie has said, and they just become like that as well. Yeah. They become like an old auntie that's just doing, you know, in India, just like gossiping and judging people all the time. It's bad, but again, it's, you know, those people, like you said, if we can convert one of those people to that, you know, a more open way of thinking, it's great.
You'd be surprised how many young people still think that way.
It's mental, like you're saying it, but you're right. I think
it's not only older people, it's young people. It's people that you and I have probably grown up with or are same age of or have been around, that you think yourself, so, you know, open your thinking. And the one thing I will say on this point is that as a culture, we're always open to thinking about problems when it doesn't affect us. But when it affects you, like, I don't want to deal with that. You know, and if it's in your own house or your own workplace or your own friend circle, they won't deal with it.
100%.
They won't deal with it. They're like, no, they come to me. So I don't want to put that effort in. Whereas if it's someone says, mate, yeah, I'm here for you, 100%, man. No worries. Because it's not in the house or in their workplace or in this immediate circle. And that's the problem we got to combat as well, is having awareness of when there are problems within your own circle. And supporting that circle. Because that's what it's about, right? And when that awareness comes, it's almost sort of say, like, let's say, for example, I don't know, let's say you and me, right? Let's say you're aware of my situation. Are you right, Mal? Yeah, I'm cool. You're right, Mal? Yeah, I'm cool. And that's it. Are you sure you're right? Yeah, cool. I know you need some space. I'll leave you alone. I know you need your time. I'll leave you alone. And that's all you do. That's not enough. You know what I mean? That's not enough. It's more about, how are you? What is it you want to talk about?
Really kind of find out, right?
Find out, but then also it goes back to acceptance. Accept that person for who they are and help them as they need help, not just lip service or ticking a box. And that's what we do when it comes to problem within our environment. We don't deal with it straight away. We just tick a box, say, you're right now.
It's a checkbox.
It's a checkbox.
I've done
you're
it.
Right. Yeah. Or I can see you got a problem. I better step away for a minute. You know what I mean? I'll see you're in a mood, or I can see you're stressed about something, or I can see you've got a problem. If I go there now, we're gonna have an argument. So I'll step away and leave you to it. And that happens a lot. You know what I mean? It happens a lot because, as again, culturally, I don't know if it's culture. It could be any culture, by the way. Maybe may not be South Asian culture. We don't look at that and think there's a problem that needs solving. As you said right at the start, we brush it under the carpet and hope it goes away. Do you know what I mean?
So, I mean, I'm just kind of to wrap this up.
Yeah, so, man. Yeah, we've been here forever.
Yeah. I think like just that's a great point to kind of end it on. Is like, you know, we need to ask for help.
Yeah.
You know, like, hopefully this podcast this episode would inspire someone to kind of, if not having a great time, especially during lockdown and stuff, to kind of ask for help, even in your immediate circle.
Yeah.
Because or if you notice, you know, someone in your family or in your household is not themselves, like, you know, ask, pry, kind of find out in a calm manner, but also just like get to the bottom of it, try and help that person, because we just want everyone to be happy, right?
Man. If not, ask me.
Just exactly. Get
in touch with me. I'll help where I can.
I mean, I'll link your blog into the notes as well.
Cheers.
Mal Jutley's thoughts.wordpress.com. It's really good. Like, your articles here really well. It's a lot of stories, and I think if the listeners like have a read, and someone that's going through something might find, you know, something in it that could help them.
Yeah, but so, literally, and I say this to everyone, my door's always open to anybody. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't sleep much anyway, so if you're sitting at 2 a.m. and you can't sleep, just contact me on social media or something, and if I can help one person, I will, because that's what we're here for, right? Yeah, wicked. Thanks a lot, Mel. No, man, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'll definitely, like, we'll have to do something else. I'll have to get you back on for a different episode. Yeah, no worries, mate, definitely. Oh, wicked, nice one. Cheers, right. Mate. Cheers.